Are we facing an impending economic disaster? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we're going to have a talk about this article from news.com.au written by Jason Murphy, the looming disaster hidden in Australia's job figures. Now, our unemployment rate that's come out, and I'm just going to bring this up here, has, well, dropped down to 5.1%. Job ads are also climbing back up. So you're getting some very impressive delta changes from one period to another because it plunged so much. So job ads are up, unemployment is up. We're hearing reports in the media that people can't find enough workers. So where is the potential disaster? Sure, we have a mountain of debt that the government may one day look at repaying, but don't worry guys, that's our great-grandkids' problem. I mean, I don't know about you. Do you expect to keep going till 2080, another 60 years? Yeah, I think I could do 100 if I keep going the carnivore diet. Yeah, she'll be right, mate. But here's the thing. Let's have a look at what's trending, what terms people are looking at on Google to kind of get a gauge of where the populace are at. Because people are worried. People are scared, understandably. So you find it starts to express in the search terms. If we see here economic disaster, over the past 12 months, we had a spike earlier in 2020 and then a few other spikes here. And so it's relatively quiet. Not many people are worried about an economic disaster at the moment. If we have a look here at recession, recession also isn't doing that well. It's not that jumping up and down. But no, would you say that's any more over the last 12 months? Sure, it's climbed a little bit, but it isn't going that crazy. You'd expect it to really shoot up, everyone, to really just fly up if people are worried about it. Or this is economic collapse, not recession. Recession's the next one. So economic collapse, I mean, it looks pretty steady, doesn't it? There's economic disaster. You've had 3 instances in economic collapse all the time. So yeah, recession, boom, boom, look at that spike. And then just going right back down. We haven't really seen a lift up of that again. Now next, we've got consumer confidence. That's another way of measuring just the economy to see how people are going, how people are feeling, if they're confident. Because that's going to impact how you spend your money. If you go out there shopping, if you go out there investing in your business. So it's taken a little bit of a trim. So it's down to 107.2, everyone. So the Westpac Melbourne Institute Index of Consumer Sentiment for Australia fell by 5.2% to a 5-month low of 107.2 in June 2021. So we're at a 5-month low. But with these surveys, guys, you've got to understand they're quantitatively measured qualitative questions. And every time you're above 100, it's generally positive. And when you're below 100, it's generally negative. So most people are still positive. It's taken a bit of a dip, but still, sure, 5-month low. But look at that, guys. We're at just high levels here. We're in this band right here. So it's not too bad. Now, let's have a look at this impending economic disaster or looming disaster hidden in Australia's job figures. What could it be, everyone? So, what's Jason talking about? This is a commentary too. A spectacular result in their latest job numbers is turning Australia's lackluster vaccine rollout into an even bigger looming disaster. Here's the situation. What if all the support for the economy actually gets us back to the rarefied air of full employment? We're already back at 5.1% unemployment, a rate lower than before the pandemic, and one rarely seen for over a decade, as the next graph shows. Now, you've got to understand the Roy Morgan figures are different. They're different approaches. I know everyone's going to be critical of the 1 hour work. 1 hour and you consider full-time employed. There are only about 11,000 people that can pull that off in Australia that are making enough money from 1 hour work to be considered full-time employed. So we've got to raise a stein to them if you've been able to pull that off. That even beats the 7-hour work week. So that's not really the issue. There are 2 methodologies, the Roy Morgan one compared to the ABS one. And there's a little, I'm going to bring that up right now. I really should incorporate this into my slide deck, but I will do that in a moment. Now, if we have a look here, there's a little difference between the 2 measurements, everyone. And normally they're consistent. But at the moment, if we look at Roy Morgan, we can see here there's unemployment. We scroll all the way down. All the way down. The rule of thumb is generally double work, double ABS to get the Roy Morgan data. They're sitting at 10.3. Now, the big thing is they've gone up. So Roy Morgan is showing unemployment going up. ABS is showing unemployment going down. Which trend do you take? So it's unusual. This is probably the first time in discussing this that I've seen a disconnect between the two. But anyway, back to here. And I mean, Jason's concerned about our vaccine rollout, but we've seen once again there's been changing advice about the ages of recommended vaccines. So you can understand why people are hesitant, why they're taking their time. Particularly here in Queensland, absolutely no risk, not affecting our day-to-day lives at all. Why would you rush out? Wait another year. So long as you still have the choice. I do not blame people at all. The problem is we are zooming towards the point where worker shortages become a real issue in certain domains. Soon we will start to need migrant workers back, and there you go. This is what's going to happen, everyone. They're going to start bringing migrant workers back to Australia, guys. Our economic success makes the vaccine rollout all the more vital. The lack of progress in getting shots into the arms means Australia's borders will stay closed, and that will lead to worker shortages. Fruit rotting in the orchards, shortages of healthcare staff, too few hospitality workers, no Ubers when you open up the app, not enough people on construction sites, the list goes on. Well, locals should do the jobs. Honestly, guys, particularly the construction site ones, I've heard horror stories of entire teams of people and only one of them can speak English on a construction site when you need to do technical problem solving and quite complicated things. Being a labourer isn't just a stupid job, guys. What you're building usually keeps people alive in a disaster. It was an ex-girlfriend, and she was quite miffed that her mother, who'd got all these degrees and had a job in a museum, was getting paid less than a bus driver. And I remember telling her, this might be why, she's the ex. And I remember telling her, well, it's because your mother is just sitting at a desk talking to people, giving tours of a museum, regardless of what education she has. The bus driver is responsible for 45 people's lives as they're driving around. What job's more stressful? So there you go. There's my romantic charm. There, Rachel can put up with me. Anyway, as the next chart shows, the growth in full-time workers is the highest it has ever been in the history of the labour market. Almost 100,000 more Aussies were working full-time in May than April, and things have never before gotten better so fast. Around 8.97 million Aussies worked full-time in May, according to the seasonally adjusted data. The first time the numbers have been over 8.9 million. This is a triumph that has driven underemployment down. The Australian economy is particularly strong in the country, where unemployment is now much lower than the city, as the next graph shows, and that's very unusual. That is insanely unusual. For a long time, cities were the economic powerhouses, and smaller cities and the bushes lagged behind. But now, despite the mass plague, regional areas have the lowest unemployment in the country. It raises a big question. What if we do what seemed possible and actually get to full employment? What if we run out of willing workers who aren't already busy doing useful jobs? The good part of this is that the good part is chances of wage rises. The bad part is labour shortages. Well, you need labour shortages for wages to increase, everyone. So let's jump to the screen and talk about this. Oh, wrong button. Okay, well, let's draw a supply and demand curve for labour. Okay, so you've got quantity here and you've got, money here. So this here is the demand for labour and this here is the supply for labour. Okay, and normally we have an equilibrium point which is right here. Boom, boom. Okay, this is where it's balanced. You've got your labour and your demand supply is balanced. You've got other factors coming in, but we're just going to talk about one simple factor here. Now, what happens is if demand for labor shifts, it increases. Okay, so we've now got a new demand curve for labor over here, D2. So that means the supply now, you've got at this level, So that means you have to pay this much money to meet that supply. There's more people that will work at that higher level up here, guys, than here. But what happens is, and I'll clear this, is that you have the supply shifting as well, everyone. So supply, more people come into the country, supply shifts over here, so it increases, and we reach this equilibrium point here once again. So we've got more people working, which is fantastic, but you also have supply, so wages turn out like this. They don't seem to be growing because supply is increasing. Everyone, it's shifting over more and more and more. And we've been seeing that as more people have been coming to Australia. GDP is going up, but the growth per capita has actually been below trend since the GFC. So that's the danger of, opening the floodgates again. It's going to reduce the opportunity for wages to increase. What do you think would happen, guys? And what's going to increase demand for property and shoot up property prices and then increase money going into property? And, we know what happens when money enters the system. You get the candle-on effect, and then property starts to bubble up as well. So these are just things that need to be kept in mind. So where will we find workers then? Our biggest reserve of spare workers, the rest of the world, is closed off to us right now, and will be until our borders open. Over time, migrant workers leave, but very few are arriving right now. So the number of migrant workers in Australia is in a tailspin. There we go. Non-residential workers, and you can see they are crashing down. The above graph should be read alongside the following graph from the Internet Vacancy Index, which shows a huge surge in vacancies. Note in particular the big lift in vacancies in agriculture and hospitality, two industries which traditionally use a lot of foreign workers. Whether you want fruit picking or a pint poured, it's often a backpacker or migrant who does the job. Without them, we're going to face big challenges. The time is getting even closer when we need to crack open our borders and let people in. That means we need a much stronger vaccine rollout. At the moment, we are miles behind the leaders. We're ahead of Japan and New Zealand, but that's not much to boast about. The alternative will be more and more farmers who can't find people to pick their fruit and companies that have to hire staff who are not qualified for the job. And the sooner we need the borders open, the more we need a big share of all Australians vaccinated. All the more reason to get cracking with our vaccination program. Well, there you go. Or maybe we could have a focus on getting Australians who are unemployed, particularly youth, into these positions. Wouldn't that be an interesting job? But the problem is, are our welfare support systems, the emergency funds, are they too generous? And is that disincentivizing people from taking these jobs or learning these skills? What do you think, everyone? So what's the solution to this? Well, don't worry. I'm sure the government will bring in the workers, guys. I bet you they will. What do you reckon? As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.